Okay, so enough posturing. If you've read this site, well then you should know that we understand and that we have the answers to fix OP. And if you've read the site, then you probably have a good understanding of what overworked adductors are and what the 6 functional systems which underlie and cause OP are. And you're probably just ready for me to explain how we're going to go about fixing your OP. So let's just have a brief snapshot of what that looks like. So obviously it's going to start with an initial session. Now in this first session, the very first thing that I'm going to do is provide you with a little education. I'm essentially going to explain what the 6 functional systems are briefly, and I'm going to explain why it is that they lead and cause you to develop osteitis pubis. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to perform some biomechanical assessment on you. And what that's going to enable me to do is to test and measure those 6 functional systems and get a really good understanding of where your current level of arch, core, glute strength is, the status of your balance system and whether you've got a good awareness of where you are in space, and also whether your SIJ is functioning, sacroiliac joint, and whether your oblique chains are switching on or not. And what all that assessment is going to enable me to do is determine exactly what type of OP you have and how much work we need to put in into each functional system to fix and correct your OP. The initial session essentially provides you with the information and the know-how so that you have a really clear understanding of what it is that you're going to need to do in order to fix your OP. From then, the next session is just about treatment. And when I say treatment, I mean both self-treatment and rehabilitation. The process of you doing the exercises in order to correct and change the movement patterns that are causing your OP. So it basically will follow a very similar structure where I will show you an exercise and explain how it's addressing a specific weakness that you have, and then I'll get you to perform that exercise. Now here's the real crux of fixing OP. This isn't a strength issue in the traditional sense. I don't need a certain muscle to grow significantly bigger, but I do need you to start using that muscle correctly at the right time. Your mechanics are simply a reflection of when and how you turn your muscles on. So when you perform an exercise that I show you, you're not going to do it correctly the first time or even the 10th time. What's going to happen is the very same mechanics that have caused you to develop OP, they're going to come out in your exercise. And that's a good thing, because what it'll enable us to do is to correct those mechanics through correcting your technique. And as we correct your technique, you'll essentially be correcting the mechanics that are causing your OP. And the more we can strengthen those good mechanics, the more it is that you're going to move without irritating your adductors. And so essentially I'll show you an exercise and you'll work on it to try and improve the technique and improve your movement patterns. Now, in between sessions is where the real work gets put on. That's where you're doing all the practicing. So in between sessions, I'll have you video record yourself and then send me those videos. And what I'll do is I will review them, annotate and draw on them and comment on them and give you advice on how to correct the very movement patterns that are causing your OP by correcting your technique in the exercises. And so hopefully by the end of the week, you should have gotten through, corrected your exercises, be performing them with good technique, and have already made some significant strides in correcting your movement patterns. Then for the next session, I'm simply just going to show you another exercise, and we're going to repeat the same process, where we slowly alter and correct your movement patterns by correcting your technique. And essentially, this is how you fix any functional problem in the body, but particularly osteitis pubis. And we essentially just work through, methodically going through each stage of the OP rehab and treatment program, addressing every single weakness that is causing your OP. By the end of it, you should feel stronger, fitter, and more agile than you ever have before. Because essentially, the person you were before, the way you moved before, that led to you developing OP. The only way you're going to overcome this is by becoming stronger than you were before. And that's what the 10-stage treatment and rehabilitation program will allow you to do.